Did you start yours?
No, I think I...
Okay, I'll do it now.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to do more of an active practice tonight. And for those of you that weren't here in the class last evening, I had Shiva laid out here. And then we talked about Shiva here. We talked about all the symbolism of Shiva. We talked about Shiva even having an incarnation where it was like half female, half male, and how that represents the yin and the yang. And we doing a yin practice last night. Now we're going to be doing more of an active practice tonight. The yin is the feminine, and the active is more of the masculine. And then we also talked a little bit about the lunar eclipse that happened, and how the lunar eclipse can bring sudden shocks, revelations, epiphanies. It's about illuminating something that's been hidden or unrevealed or unknown. And so that can come up professionally, personally, worldly. And usually the eclipse energy comes in right before the eclipse, but then it stays with us a few months afterwards. So because the eclipse was about, it was a lunar eclipse with the full moon, I figured we could do a kind of blend of a moon sow and a sun sow. So in the class that we had here this morning with the other teacher, we were doing breath work, and the breath work we were doing at first was Nadi Shodhanam. We were alternating nostrils. And then we started doing Surya, and Surya means sun. So the Surya would be the active or the masculine, or solar, as we sometimes refer to it. And then the left side, when we switch to that, is the cooling, it's the feminine, it's the lunar side. So we're going to have that blending tonight to bring that together. Now I want to revisit a couple stories, because we've been here on a spiritual pilgrimage. And part of the pilgrimage part of coming to Rishikesh was not only because it's the yoga capital of the world, but it is named the most spiritual city in the world. And I mean, just hearing, we're hearing the mantras now outside of this space. We heard the mantras down by the rivers. You could hear people chanting mantras when we were walking past them on the streets, at the ashrams, at the temples. It's literally everywhere, and this is the most high vibrational music that exists. Sanskrit has been studied, and it holds a really high vibration to it, and it's said to be the mother of all languages. So we've had a lot of story sharing from our guide. I've shared a few. When we were in Delhi at the Lakshmi temple, we were talking about the various goddesses. We were talking about the story of Durga, and Durga going into battle because the gods were fighting this like demon king, and he had this army fighting against them, and every time they got hurt or slain, a drop of blood that hit the ground would create a clone. But when Durga, the gods were losing the war, and so they remembered this prophecy that it was going to be a goddess that would take care of it. So they go to Durga, because she is like the goddess of power and strength, and she has like 8 arms, and they gave her all their weapons, and they're like, Durga, take it, And she goes out into the battlefield, and she's fighting and fighting and fighting with all of her arms, and out of anger, because everything she tried, the army just grew. Out of her anger and out of her third eye popped Kali. And Kali is the mother of compassion, and she's one of the incarnations of Durga, Parvati, Sakti. This is the feminine consort of Shiva. And so when Kali went on her killing spree, she recognized that it was when the blood dropped on the ground that this crone was created. And so that depiction of Kali holding the skull and the bowl up underneath is collecting the blood so it won't hit the ground, which represents and symbolizes the end of suffering, right? It was the end of suffering. And in yogic philosophy, it talks about when you're suffering, go to the root cause. The root cause of whatever it is. So that way you're done with it. You're alleviating it. Okay, so that was a little bit of story about Kali. And we've talked about Shiva, of course. But the story that I want to go back to is at the Devi temple that we were at yesterday. When we went to that temple, we were hearing the story about Shiva's first wife, Sati, and how Sati wanted to be partnered up with Shiva. And she was doing penance and she wanted to marry him, and then he finally appeared to her and he was like, "What is it that you want?" And she was like, "I want to marry you." But her parents did not like Shiva. I mean, he was like a Rastafarian. He had dreadlocks, covered in ash. He hung out with ghosts. Like, he is the god of death, time, transformation, endings, beginnings, and the parents were just very put off by him. But they allowed it to happen. When it happened, after it happened, this father, who was a king, was throwing this religious ritual party, kind of like what we were doing with Holy today, celebrating. They were having this big celebration and a big bonfire, and he did not invite his new son-in-law. In fact, he didn't even invite his daughter because he knew that she would want to bring her new husband. When his daughter found out, she was devastated. She was heartbroken. She was upset. So she shows up at this party. And she ended up throwing herself into the fire, sacrificing herself into this fire. And when this happened, Shiva found out about it through word of mouth. Shiva is so just crazy mad, but also grieving, right? Because now he's lost his wife. And so he goes to the party, he grabs her corpse out of the fire, and he's crying and he's grieving to the point where he takes off and he starts doing the Tandavan dance. So the dance of Shiva, which I think you bought. Didn't you buy the Dancing Shiva? Mm-hmm. Who brought the Dancing Shiva? You. Jessica. Jessica bought the Dancing Shiva. That dance is the cosmic dance. Well, Shiva can have the cosmic dance of creation as well as the cosmic dance of destruction. He was doing the cosmic dance of destruction. And the gods were like, no, 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 we need to save humanity. We don't want this to be destroyed. And so they want to step in, and I think it was Vishnu that steps in. And Vishnu takes the corpse, chops it up 52 pieces, and it falls on different places of the earth. The chest of her fell to that mountaintop where we climbed up to go to that temple, which I feel like that temple is really special because to me, if it holds her torso, it holds her heart. So I wanted to give you that backup story because when Shiva was so upset and he was so angry, one of the dreadlocks fell onto the ground. And as soon as the dreadlock fell to the ground, poof, this new incarnation comes up, and it's called Virabhadra. So Virabhadra is Virabhadrasana, right? So like warrior 1, warrior 2, warrior 3. This is how Virabhadra came into existence. So I wanted to share that story because I had shared how Kali came into existence from Durga, and I also wanted to share the story of Virabhadra, how he came into existence from Shiva. So we're going to be doing some poses that's going to bring a little bit of this into play. The other pose that I'm going to be bringing in is with the Shistra. And that is the sage, one of the original yogic sages, where we went to the cave. one of the ones that lived here in Rishikesh. That pose is the side plank pose. I will give you a modification if you want to be gentle, or you can do the full thing. So just kind of wait for a moment if you want to hear modifications. And then the last thing that I want to bring up, because we've been here in Rishikesh, it's been all about Rama and Sita. And Rama is one of the incarnations of Vishnu. Hanuman, the monkey-headed deity, was his biggest devotee. So when we were walking across that bridge and we saw that big painting of Hanuman, did you happen to notice Rama and Sita were painted at his heart? He's such a devotee, he held them in the heart. Now, I think at some point we were talking about the story of when Sita was kidnapped. She was kidnapped by this demon king, and it was over in Sri Lanka. And they were looking, frantically trying to find his wife. Well, Hanuman was standing at the edge of the ocean, and he picked up on the fact that Sita's there on that island. And he grew and made himself enormous, and then he leapt from one landmass to the other. So any type of split pose in yoga, whether it's half split, full split, standing split, this goes back to that story of Hanuman. And when we're in that pose, it's about, are we willing to take that leap of faith? Are we willing to trust in the infinite possibilities when we get that intuitive hit? When we get that innate knowing of what we need to do, or what decision we need to make, or what direction we need to go in. So we're going to bring some of these stories into our practice. And here's why. The poses are great in and of themselves. The poses can give us strength, they can give us flexibility, they can move our energy around, they can make us feel better, get our circulation flowing, it can help us to get rid of deposits of stress and tension, it can tone our bodies, the list goes on and on and on. But if you know the symbology of some of these stories and deities, if you know the moral, kind of idea of what the story's trying to convey, then when you're back on your mat and you're in the pose, if you want to be meditative and take it beyond the physical, right? Then you can be contemplative on, okay, how is this falling into my life right now? How can I take this story or this deity as an example of how I can be better or show up in the world? Does that make sense? All right. So let's begin. Let's begin sitting upright. Oh, I had something I was going to share with you, but that's okay. I had a little slip of paper for you because I love the way they begin with chanting here. And in my yoga teacher training, we always begin with chanting too. So I'll just repeat it. You repeat it after me. I'll go word by word, and then we'll say it together. To tell you what we're going to be doing, it's the second Yoga Sutra. It shows up in the yogic philosophy. It's Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. What that translates to is yoga is the neutralization of the agitations or fluctuations of the mind. It's the lessening of the agitations of the body, and it can calm the whirlpools of emotion. So just think whenever you do pranayama or a physical practice or even sit in meditation, it can change your mood, it can change your attitude, it can change your whole disposition. So that's what we're going to work with. So let's sit up nice and tall. Let's roll the shoulders up towards the ears and then down and back. Flip your hands open and take that Gyata Mudra. This represents wisdom, the wisdom of being led by our innate knowledge, our intuition, or even the merging of our lower self to our higher self, or our higher self with the divine. Again, taking deep sips of breath. And as you're refining your breath, continue to refine your posture. Your sits bones rooting down, an extension through your spine, upliftment through the crown of your head. Try to make each breath longer and stronger than before. And then just repeat after me. Yoga. Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha, Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha. Together, if you can. Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha. Bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. Let's all take a cleansing breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then crack the eyelids open. And then blink them wider open. And then let's come up to stand. And I'm all slicked up and oiled up. So let's see how this goes. So stand towards the top of your mat, please. And just look down at your feet to make sure one is not leading ahead of the other. And just kind of rock back and forth from your heels to your toes. And then find your equilibrium between your left and right side, between the front side of the foot and the back side of the foot, spreading out the base of the feet. Engaging your legs by rolling your thighs inward, and then drawing in and up through the navel center. That way you feel this kind of energetic lock at your belly, which also works in tandem with the pelvic floor. Now bring your hands to prayer position. And you're going to lace your fingers together and tuck your knuckles right up underneath your chin. What I find fascinating is after the chanting in India, they always start with neck work, right? So we're going to do a little neck work with breathing. As you inhale, you're going to slowly lift the chin, separate your arms and your palms apart, keeping your fingers laced up. And then as you exhale, close your hands together, slim up the elbows, and bring your chin back down. Okay, breathing in and up, opening your throat center. And then exhale, palm squeeze, and the head tilts back down. Now start to count from the beginning of your inhale to the top of the inhale. See if you can take it to the count of 4, 5, or 6. And as you exhale, see if you can take that count to the same duration. Because we all have a different lung capacity. Let's do 3 more.
If it helps to do the Ujjayi pranayama, you can add in that audible sounding breath. Let's do 2 more. And then obviously protect your neck. We're not trying to jackknife it all the way back. Just find the safety net where you feel comfortable and confident. Last one. Good. Now, push the palms forward. And then elevate the arms up on your next in-breath. And as you exhale, you're going to sway and curve to the right. Now just hold this position for a moment because this is Chandrasana. And Chandrasana is the crescent moon. And we talked about that symbol that's sitting on the corner of Shiva's head last night. On your next in-breath, you're going to gently build yourself up, but as you exhale, you're going to step to your left, facing the side wall, and opening out your arms. And now we have just formed the Kali Goddess pose. Now, make sure your toes are spun outward, your thighs are rolling nice and wide. In other words, you're trying to prevent the knees from caving in. So you're opening your hips, widening your legs, and see with your arms, can you allow your elbows to be as high as your shoulders, your fingers fan out nice and wide, and then we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, and then as you exhale, do that lion's breath, expelling the tongue. Good, one more. Exhale helps to cool us down. Take a deep breath in. One more. Good. Now from this Kali Goddess position, I want you to slowly bring your fingertips down to the floor. Now keep your tailbone in line with the crown of your head if possible. If that's too much flexion for the knees, you don't have to squat that low. Try not to white knuckle the fingertips, put the weight in your feet. The hands are just helping you to stay balanced. Now you're going to turn your feet so that your heels are rocking back behind your toes, and you're going to widen your legs to a comfortable degree, and you can fold down. If you're needing to avoid inversions, yes, Megan, that's great. Because I know you were going to try to avoid that tonight. Yeah, you can even reach your arms and hold the wall. So it's okay with me if you're modifying with straight arms. It's okay with me if you're bending the arms, but put a little bit more action in the arms. So in other words, walk your hands back in between the lines of your feet, so a little bit farther backward. Yes. And then when you're here, push down through your thumbs and then work your triceps and squeeze your arms towards each other as they go back. Beautiful. This is Prasarita Padottanasana. Just getting some blood flow to the crown of the head. Now the crown of the head is where the dwelling place of the moon resides. At least that's what the yogis say. The indwelling place of the sun is in the belly. Now, let's go ahead and walk the fingertips forward, extend long through the vertebrae. Bring your hands to your hips. Power down through your feet. Charge with your legs and come all the way back up to stand. Beautiful. Now, extend your arms out like a T. And you're going to turn your right foot towards the front of the room, towards Shiva. Right foot towards Shiva, turning the toes. Good. Now when you're ready, take a deep breath in. Try to keep that front leg elongated, and then you're going to flex from your hips. Stretch that right arm out, 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 out. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, just windmill that right hand down, that left arm up. Yeah, and you can even be here. Yes. And then I'm just going to suggest, because you do the same thing I do, except I go the reverse way. You droop your head and I lift my head.
I'm just gonna back you up here. Beautiful. Good. And then Barb, I want you to think about your torso being like a gate. Did you feel that? Nice. Hold this position. Find a comfortable gaze. So maybe that's grounding for you. I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna let this hip kind of tuck in, and I'm gonna swing your torso back. Yes. And then we're gonna stretch out here. Feel the difference there? Nice. In your Trikonasana, are you ready to come out now? Holding here, and when you're ready, I want you to casually start to turn your head to look down towards that front foot. All right, I want you to put a lunge in that front knee, and then I want you to either hop the back foot forward a little bit, or you can spin to the ball of the back foot where the heel is elevated. And if you can't get the hands to the floor, I'm sorry we don't have blocks here, you can plant your back foot and you can stack your hands ever so lightly on your thigh and reach the crown towards the front. So it's not the lunge, it's just more of a pyramid pose. More of a pyramid pose. Now you can meet your bar, that's great, because you're actually doing the standing form of splits. And you're actually doing the standing form of split. I'm only gonna correct that heel. It's that way you can square your hips. Yep. Nice. Now, I'm gonna give you an alternative. See if you can bring that right foot around. Perfect. And then walk your hands back and lift the toes. That's the modification. Awesome. So I love that all of you are doing something different. We have someone doing pyramid. We have 2 people doing the standing split. We have someone doing the half split. Now, consider for a moment, pretend we're all doing some form of the split. Right? Who are we considering here? Hanuman. And that idea of believing in ourselves, believing in our intuition, having that trust so we can take leaps of faith. All right, now when you're ready, you're gonna lunge that front knee. And you can stay grounded on your back knee if you need to drop it to a half lunge, or you can lift the back knee up and you can slither the left toes more towards the back side of the room. You can be on fist, you can be on palms, you can be on fingertips, but instead of dumping your hips and dumping your chest, put the weight and power in your legs and feet. So if you look towards me a minute, I'll show you the difference. Here, I'm dumping. Here, I've got action. Remember, this is an active pose. Okay, now choices. Maybe if you have the back knee down, you can plant your left hand and sweep that right arm up in the air. If you're here in this version, you can plant the left hand, you can raise the right arm, or you can roll to the outer edge of that front foot to the outer edge of your back foot and do what's called a soma lunge, which soma means the nectar of the moon. Beautiful. I know these mats are kind of cheap, aren't they? A little difficult to work with. All right, when you're ready, let's come out of that lunge, plant your hand, and you can be in tabletop or plank. Now, if you're on hands and knees, you can gently roll down to the floor. If you are in plank, you're gonna rock forward, lower down, squeezing the arms to scrape your side body, chaturanga. You can inhale to upward facing dog or cobra, and you can exhale, roll back to a downward facing dog. Planting your hands, stretching your hips up and back. And try to lift out of your shoulders. Try to lengthen the back of your legs, lifting your tailbone and dropping down through your heels. All right, now everyone take a deep breath in, fly your heels up in the air, and join Megan in tabletop position. Now I'm going to give you choices. We'll start with the modification first. Now we're going to go towards the pose dedicated to the sage where we went to the cave.
Now the modification is if you just rock that left foot back behind you and extend your right leg, you can also uplift your right arm. That may be plenty. That may be more than enough. If you prefer the full side plank, then come back to your knees, curl your toes, pop up to plank, and then flip to the outer edge of the left foot, stacking your legs and flying that right arm skyward. And you can go for any expression. There's multiple expressions here. Beautiful. Exhale, come back down. Let's reform. Tabletop position. Make sure your hands are slightly beyond your shoulders because we're going to curl the toes under. We're going to uplift again to downward facing dog. Now we're going to think about the story of the warrior, Virabhadra. So we're going to bring that right foot to the front of the mat. If it's too difficult to step the right foot all the way forward, you can come to your knees, swing the right foot around in front, curl the back toes, plant your back heel, and then safely and slowly rise to warrior one. Now, there's a whole nother story that talks about why there's warrior one, warrior two, warrior three. And it's what he did at the party. Because remember, he's angry at this king, this father-in-law, right? Something we could relate to as people with our in-laws. So he gets so angry, he rises up, but then he turns that back foot, splays his arms open. This creates warrior two. The arms is like the sword. And it kind of gets a little grotesque, okay? First of all, just be here in warrior two, bending that front knee. Look casually at your front leg to see where your knee is hinging. Is it facing the center of the foot or is it dropping in towards the big toe? Roll that right thigh open so it's centered on the foot. The knees lined over the ankle. Keep your arms up. And so he goes after the king. Chops the head off. And then what's he going to do with the head? He's going to put it kind of on demonstration. We're going to turn the back foot. We're going to elevate the arms up. And feel free to stay here if your balance is off today. This is the crescent lunge. But he takes the head and he places it on a stake for everyone to see. Don't mess with Shiva. That's warrior three. And this is a tricky one. All right, inhale, come up. Land your back foot. Fly the arms up to frame the face. Exhale, bring your hands down and step that back foot forward. Now, if you don't want the inversion, you can bring your hands to your upper thighs. Just make sure you're not swaying the back. So plug and hug that belly in to support the back. Or if you want to bow out, fold in half. Make sure your weight's tipping towards your toes. Uttanasana. All right, those that are folding, we're going to inhale and join the others. Come halfway up. And then exhale if you want to rebend, Uttanasana. One more round, feel free. And then root your feet and inhale, bring the arms up overhead. And then exhale, come to the salutation seal. So this mudra is often also called the salutation seal. We're going to go back in. Well, we got a second side. So let's lace the hands. Make sure your feet are pushing down, thighs rolling in, navel lifting up. Exhale, press the palms in front of you. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale, now sway, curve, Chandrasana to the left. You guys are doing this great. Sometimes people tend to tuck the tailbone. None of you are doing that. Sometimes people bring that arm out in front of the face. None of you are doing that, so it's really good form. But where's your breath? Are you breathing well? Bring that life force in. And then inhale, draw it back to center. Exhale, let's step to the right. And guess what? We got Kaligata pose. Now you can put as much or as little into this as you want. Meaning, some people like to fire up the biceps, which you're welcome to do. Now, as women, science says we hold a lot of the strength and power in our lower body. And feel how this pose is giving you that strength and power. Embrace that feminine aspect. And then we're going to take 3 breaths, breathing in through the nose. Expel the tongue and breathe out. It's supposed to be medicinal for bad breath, too. Inhale. Exhale. It's also a calming feature. Last one. Good. Now this time, I want you to lean forward and stack your hands ever so lightly on your thighs, okay? You're gonna take that right arm and sweep it behind your back, and you're gonna cross the left hand over towards that right knee or thigh. Good, so you're getting in a twist. Now see if you can give an extra, roll back to that right shoulder. And then instead of pulling yourself towards the right leg, can you keep your torso centered between your thighs? Yes. Nice. Good. Now, deep breath in. Exhale, we're going to come back to center. And then wrapping that left arm behind the back, sending that right hand over to the left knee, and you're leaning forward in between the thighs, reaching the crown towards this side wall, but then give an extra roll back to that left shoulder. So you're gaining that spinal twist. Beautiful. Deep breath in. Nice. Exhale, unwind. If you need your hands, you can ground them down. Sorry, we don't have blocks here. Turn your heels behind your toes. And this is where if you need to modify, your hands can be at your hips. Your hands can be on the floor. Or if you want the inversion, bow out. Hinging more from your hips. And this time I'll let you be expressive and do anything with your arms. I know a lot of you are well practiced, and you may have your favorite way of doing it. And you can do Da Vinci pose here. Yeah. It's exhilarating. It's joyful. And then for the rest of us, we're getting that calming feature again. And on your next inhale, let's slowly come up. So maybe stacking the hands to the hips. And building yourself up. And then turning that left foot. And then look at your foot, because sometimes we think the foot is turned, but it's not actually turned all the way. And it's very helpful if it is. Now, extend your arms up shoulder height. Good. Now get a little swish in your hips here, pushing your hips towards the back wall as you reach out through the underside of your left arm. Casually take it down. Let your right arm sail up overhead. You guys have already corrected yourself. Nice. Beautiful. or if you were corrected, but then you went back to your habit. So tuck that hip in, and then, yes, feel the difference? And then create space here. Okay, I'm gonna slowly back away. I was kind of in your wall there. Nice. Now I want you to think for a moment triangle. 3 points, boom, boom, boom. Last time we talked about the trident. Creation, sustaining, and destruction. Right, the 3 types of energy. All right, when you're ready, start to casually look down at your left foot. And then you can bring the hand down, put a little lunge in that knee. And you have choices. You can drop the back knee to the floor, go into the half split, lifting the left toes. You can do the standing split like you did before with your hips square on the ball of the back foot. And if you need more stability, do pyramid pose. Parsvottanasana, where the back foot's grounded. And then I'll let you have a little reflection time here. Maybe considering any hurdles you've recently had to jump over. Or maybe you feel something coming. Sacral chakra is about, spiritual aspect anyway, trust and surrender. Being able to let go and go with the flow. Being able to let go and let God. All right, from here, we're going to move into our lunge. So bend that front knee, wiggle that right foot back, and this is where you can keep your back knee down. You can just do half lunge. You can add in a twist. You can do that full lunge and add in the twist. Or if you like that solo lunge, you can spin the feet. Now, if you press through that back foot, with the hip up, even better. And so just think about every deity. So in Hinduism, they actually believe in one God. It's actually monotheistic, not polytheistic. Even though we see all these deities, it's actually all going back to one. Like yoga means unity, one. They're just different expressions of the divine. All right, when you're ready, come out of that lunge, bring that hand down, spin the feet properly. I had to say it. Left foot plank. So if you're in tabletop, you can stay in tabletop or take your plank with your knees high. Now think about when you're doing Tadasana, you're rolling your thighs in. Same thing with plank. If you want the vinyasa, you can start to roll down from tabletop, or you can hinge down to chaturanga. You can inhale to any back bend. And then you can exhale, returning to downward facing dog. Now, from your downward facing dog, let's be here a moment. Tabletop if you don't want the inversion. But in tabletop position, push down through your ankles and feet. Notice how it activates the core. And then just drop the head just ever so slightly so you're looking between your hands. In downward facing dog, that's beautiful, Becky. And if your head's down in down dog, you're looking back towards the feet. All right, now, if you're in down dog, you're going to inhale, lift your heels high. And as you exhale, we're going to join them in tabletop position. And if you did the modification before, why not do it on this side to match it up? Send your right foot back, left leg down the lane of your mat, and take that left arm overhead. If you want the fancy version, then you're welcome to have the knees up. You're welcome to take the Sisyasana or another expression, right? Each of these deities have a different expression. Just like we all have a different story. All right, when you're ready, exhale, bring that hand down. We'll take one more vinyasa.
if you want it. Or you can hover and hold in your tabletop, yogi's choice. And then front down dog or tabletop, let's bring the left foot to the front of the mat. Offset your right foot and build up to Virabhadrasana 1. Warrior 1 position. Good. Your hips are squaring. Your arms are reaching, elbows straightening. Palms facing each other. And at the same time, just put a little softness in your shoulders. Because a lot of our tension comes from cranking the shoulders up close to the neck or ears. All right, think about how we're all fighting different battles in life. And sometimes we have to pull up that warrior energy and then spin your back foot properly. So the back foot, if it's properly shaped, will be more parallel to the short edge side of your mat. See how your toes are coming slightly out? If it doesn't hurt your knee, that's fine. But to save your knee, turn your toes in just slightly. We want to build from the base all the way up. Good, let your heart feel expanded here. And then your choice here, you can spin off that back heel, come to crescent lunge and just stay here. Or you're welcome to bounce forward to stack and stand on that left leg, hip, knee, ankle in alignment. Reaching in either direction. Setting your drishti at one spot. Good. Now inhale with the arms, back up your right foot. Take it down to the ground. Good. Now bring the hands down, and we're just going to step that back foot forward. You can lift halfway up if that's best for you. You can hang down, lowering and relaxing your head and your neck. And if you're all the way down, inhale, come halfway up, join the others. Quick pop up here. And then exhale, release back down. And your next in breath, root your feet. Take the arms all the way up. And then exhale, bring hands back down to the heart. All right. So now, hopefully, knowing these stories, you can consider this pilgrimage we've had, and maybe you want to dive a little deeper into these stories. But let's do, because we've talked about Krishna too. So from here, this is a little bit of a balancing pose. Stand on your left foot, cross your right foot over. And do you see how I'm balancing on the ball of the foot? Your choice is to be here, or turn the heel back a little bit, or to the left wall. And then you're going to pretend you're playing a flute with the hands like a flute. And then inhale, come up. And then uncross that right leg. Good. Now, cross. Left foot over the right. You can stay on the ball of the foot, or you can turn that heel out a little bit towards the right wall. And then you're going to pretend you're playing the flutes. Yes. If that's too much for your knees or ankles, you can keep both feet on the ground side by side. There's always a way to make it more gentle. And when you're ready, let's exit out, coming up, and shaking the feet. And we're going to calm down. I'm going to give you an option. I know this isn't good for everyone's knees. So if your knees can't handle a lot of flexion, just come on down gently to the floor on your back. If you're okay with going to a deeper squat, you're going to separate your feet, heels on the sticky mat, toes off the sticky mat, hands to prayer. Ooh. Hello, hips. So if you're coming to the floor, I still want you to do a hip opener. I'll give you a choice. You can have soles of the feet together and hinging, or you can have your feet like this, knees bent, hands to heart. It's the same shape. The exact same shape. Okay, those of you that have been hovering, you're going to circle your hands behind you to help yourself come to a seat. Maybe bring the feet a little bit more forward to join everyone else. All right, you may have heard me talking at some point, there's all these different incarnations of Vishnu, Rama being one, Krishna being another, but there's one called Kurma. And you know how some of them have different animal heads or animal features? Well, this one's the tortoise. So to do the tortoise, what you do is slip one hand under the leg, and then you slip the other hand under the opposite leg. Now, typically tortoise, right, has that rounded shell. And this is one of those poses where you're allowed to round your back and spill your hand. Now, Karmasana, this pose, is really good for withdrawing from the senses and kind of diving inside. You have the option to stay as you are. A second option, if you want to play, is lifting the toes, sliding your heels out, and you're not coming all the way down with the legs. The knees are still bent, the arms are still tucked up underneath. You just get a little lower. One is not better than the other, so leave that out of your thoughts. The intention is the same. Be captivated by your breath. Close your eyes. And now slide your hands back underneath the face. And then flatten your feet again. We'll do a seated cat-cow. So holding onto your shins, you're going to breathe in and drive the heart through the knees and look up. And then as you exhale, the knees may want to narrow, and that's okay. As you plug the belly in, pierce it in towards the spine, straighten your arms and chin lock to the chest. And then inhale, we open the throat, we roll the shoulders back, creating a little bit of a heart opening, more of a back bend. And then as we exhale, we take the counter stretch. Now form that relationship with your breath and breathe into cow. Yep. And then breathe back to cat. Into cow, think of Nandi, the wishing cow. And then back to cat stretch. At your own pace, according to your own breath. Good. After that next cat stretch, you're going to roll down to your spine, bring the feet closer together.
Look, Barb, you said this was just going to be
I
stretching.
know, I
You're gonna
lied.
get it.
I lied.
This is like the third time
Last-
you brought me a stretch.
I owe you,
Last night I did more stretching.
I owe you a drink.
Barb said, no, come, it's just stretching.
I owe you 2 drinks, maybe even 3.
All right, this will be
So glad you
good.
called
Bring the
that.
soles of the feet together. Separate
I'm so
your
sorry.
knees apart. I gotta find the light switch here. That one.
Second from the end. So from a,
Thank you.
yeah.
We're at the good part now. Do you want to close your because when I was here before, they had blocks and pillows. But you know what? You can use the hats. After having yourself in the reclined butterfly for a little bit, slowly lift your knees up, and then you can slide your legs out. It's okay, you missed it. Or you can go into it now.
I was
Either way.
apologizing, I missed it.
You can stay in it, Barb. Now, if it's better for your back to have the knees bent, do that instead. Close your eyes. I want you to try to relax your entire body. We're going to begin at the feet. So bring your attention and awareness to your feet. Reflect on some of the poses where you were standing up tonight. How they were helping you to balance, find your sense of security, building from the ground up. But now, they don't have to be pressurized. They don't necessarily have to root. They can relax. If your legs are straight, maybe the feet even want to flop out and away from each other. So soften all 10 toes. Soften the arches of the feet, the ankles of the feet, even the front sides of the feet. Soften your calves. Relax your knees. Give your thighs a break. And ensuring that the front, back, outer, and inner thighs are relaxed. Soften the pelvic floor. Soften your seat. Relax both your belly and your back. Feel your back at rest. And feel internally the belly lifting as you inhale, retracting on the exhale. Now that you've put the focus into that fluctuation in the belly, watch how the breath rolls higher up towards the heart. And allow your awareness to surf the wave of the heart, the wave of the breath, as if it's purifying your heart, your mind, your body. Picture in your mind's eye sitting by the great river and watching the water flow. Relax your shoulders, arms, and hands. Placing your hands where they intuitively want to go. On or off the body, palms up or down. Without changing your hands, if your hands are turned down, you intuitively took it to where it's grounding you. And if your palms are spun open, you intuitively went to a place where you're feeling open, and it's a symbol of being receptive. One is not better than the other. Trusting yourself, trusting your intuitive guidance to give you exactly what you need. Relax your neck, your throat, and all your facial muscles, even the largest joints found in the jaw. Soften the space and skin between the eyes, the furrow of the brow, and even the scalp upon your head. Feel the weight of your head at rest. Hopefully at this point, the brain is more relaxed. If your mind starts to chase a thought, sensation, or feeling, remember the chant, Yoga, Chitta, Vritti, Nirodha. Calm the fluctuations of the mind by honing in on your breath, becoming a simple observer of the breath. Whether it's the amount, the texture, or that ripple effect. Part of you that is bearing witness, the whole point of Shavasana. That's what we've been diving into this practice to connect to. Your soul. Your higher self.
your legs are extended straight, close the feet more together. Or bend your knees. And regardless if the legs are straight or bent, please hug in your knees. Try not to hug in so tight that you feel your buttocks or low back lifting from the earth. Keep it planted down. Splay your arms open like a T and let your knees fall away to the left side of your body. Taking a supine twist. Twists that are good for digestion. Not just digesting and processing and assimilating the food, but life experiences. Surf the wave of the breath as it rolls up from the right side of the belly to the right side of your chest. Good, inhale, draw the knees back to center. And then roll them over to the right. Taking the opposite side of the twist. Just lounging, relaxing, breathing. Maybe paying a little bit more attention to that wave of the breath, rolling up from the left side of the belly towards the left shoulder. Now, continue to keep your knees facing as they are. If your head is turned, please bring your chin back in line with your chest first. And then go ahead and elevate your left arm and bring it across to your right side. Lay on your right side body for a moment, and it's okay to cup a hand or an arm up underneath your ear. Be in the side fetal position a moment. Now push down through your left hand and just casually lift your way back to a comfortable seat. And comfortable doesn't mean cross-legged. You can have one leg straight, you have both legs straight. It doesn't have to be Siddhasana or Sukhasana or Padmasana. Let's open the palms on the lap, close the eyes a moment. Just to go within and notice. Joining your hands together to prayer position at your heart. Now, you don't have to chant this with me, but feel free to join in if you'd like. I'm going to do the way that I do Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So if you know what that is, feel free to join. If you're going to join, take a deep breath in. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti means peace. But when it's said 3 times, it means beings, may we all be free and at peace from anything out of our control. May we be free and at peace from anything imposed upon us by another. And may we also be free from any internal stress or concerns of our own. Om peace, peace, peace.